Welcome to the Savory Show. I'm your co-host, Avery Floyd.
I'm your co-host, Sterling Littlejohn.
We thank you for tuning in. I want to take this time to start off the podcast just reminding everyone to please follow the Savory Show on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for all of our podcasting content. That's at the Savory Show. Savory spelled Savery. We'd also like to ask you to please subscribe, rate us, and review us, as the Savory Show is now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcast mediums available to you.
All right, y'all, let's get right into it. So I'm sure, as you all have seen, Kyrie Irving and the NBA coalition would like to take a stand against racial injustice and now play in the Orlando bubble that's coming up in July. So I have a few thoughts on that, but I'm going to read this quote from the Kyrie Irving and NBA coalition that also includes 80 to 100 NBA and WNBA players. Other notable players that are involved with this are Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony, and Avery Bradley. So here's the quote. We are truly at an inflection point in history, where as a collective community, we can band together, unify, and move as one. We need all of our people with us, and we will stand together in solidarity. As an oppressed community, we are going on 500 plus years of being systematically targeted, used for our intellectual property, talent, and still being killed by the very people that are supposed to protect and serve us. We have had enough. Now I'll give you my take on it. Even though that I agree with the players taking a stand, what I do disagree with is their plan in doing so. And I personally believe not playing these games would do a disservice to us all. So I'll just take this stance for example. If the season did not take place in Orlando, if they just say, we're not going to do it, the players will lose $1.2 billion in players' salaries. Currently, right now, as things hold, the owners are holding back 25% of the players' paychecks to balance out the books this season. If the NBA players back out this season, there could also be even more money lost, with $2 billion in lost revenue for the league. And it could also lead to a salary cap reduction of $25 million to $30 million for the 2020-21 season. Me personally, I think that could affect a lot of lives. I get it, like the Kyrie Irvings, the LeBrons, the Carmelo Anthonys, the Kevin Durant's, just to name a few. I know they have a lot of money that they've earned throughout their careers. But there's a lot of players who are in the G League or even employees throughout the NBA and WNBA organizations that could be affected by this type of issue that's occurring right now. And the divide that is occurring between the NBA players, which I think is another issue, where they should be standing together instead of having a divide. So what I would like for Kyrie to do is to come up with a better plan of what's going to take place. So, for example, I know that LeBron James currently has an organization called More the Vote. And basically, he's going to pair up with other voting organizations and work to help get African Americans to register to vote and cast their ballot in November. This group will consist of LeBron James himself, Skylar Diggins, Jalen Rose, Trae Young, Draymond Green, and even comedian Kevin Hart. So basically what LeBron wants to get out of this is he wants people to go out and vote, but he's also going to give a tutorial. We're going to give you the background of how to vote and what they're trying to do on the other side to stop you from voting. And I think that's a very critical point that is being used by LeBron. I think that's a smart approach for how to stand together, but also give knowledge in the same time to help us get out and vote. I think that's something that Kyrie and the rest of the players should look at and be like, you know what, LeBron, let's support you on that. Let's get behind that notion. Another thing about the voting that's taking place as well is that I read something that was very interesting, that LeBron has over 136 million followers between his Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram accounts. Just over 137 million people voted in 2016 presidential election alone. That is a problem, people. A huge problem. And right now, there's currently 331 million people living in America right now. That is a huge problem. So that's approximately over 100 million plus people that didn't vote in 2016. And also, as far as African Americans, as we all know, all African Americans weren't allowed to vote until 1965. So just to give you guys some facts, the black vote went down from 66.6% in 2012 to 59.6% in 2016. We got to do better, people. We got to make a change and get out and vote. That's the type of change that needs to occur. And I am glad that LeBron is getting behind that. I really appreciate that. And, even though, I'm a huge fan of Kyrie Irving, but I just think what's occurring right now, they have to come with a better plan. I mean, try to work with the NBA organizations and see if we could have Black Lives Matter t-shirts in the stands since there won't be any fans there. Or have Black Lives Matter throughout the court. Or, have the Black Lives Matter not just on the court, but also even have the names of the victims who died from police brutality. How about that? Or donate to HBCU schools. Have NBA organizations do that. They need to present a plan to these organizations and the owners to figure out how we can get our point across, how they can get their point across to the world. And, I'll let you take it from there, Avery, but that's just pretty much the things I had to say about the Kyrie Irving and NBA coalition that's going on right now.
That was well said, and I appreciate your stance on that. It's a lot. As you guys may be aware, there's been a lot of comments back and forth between what Kyrie said, Steven Jackson, who was a good friend of the late George Floyd, Dwight Howard, Avery Bradley, who both play for the Los Angeles Lakers currently, and they were more on the side of Kyrie about, not wanting to play to cause a distraction to the Black Lives Matter movement and the protest and the movement of our people in search of justice and liberty for all, as it says, in the Constitution, but may not be really actually liberty and justice for all, as we know here in America. So the other side, we have players, LeBron stating that, we can play and make a change, right, with our dollars. And Sterling let us all know about the different ways that these players can give back. So when you think about the players at the top, the multimillionaires, I love what you said, Sterling, when you bring up, invest back in the Black community. The reason why I don't agree necessarily with Kyrie is because he didn't have an elaborate plan in place. If he did, I might have felt differently. Of course, I don't want the NBA coming back to be a distraction, but at the same time, the money that can be made through these players can be used for a good cause. Now, the NBA is over 75% Black. If all of the players in the NBA said, you know what, we're not coming back, there is no NBA, right? However, my thing is, if they were really about it the way that Kyrie wants them to be, or himself, the top superstar players are Kyrie's, LeBron's, Harden, Giannis, okay, Russell Westbrook. We can go on from all the great players in the league. If they were able to take their money along with other prominent Black entertainers, celebrities, congressmen and women, like people high up who could really affect change, and start their own league, which allegedly Kyrie had referred to, that's something else in itself. Okay, we all know the NBA, that's a top dog when it comes to a professional basketball league. Okay, in America, the NBA is a cream of the crop. Okay, overseas, they have their leagues and whatever, and we don't pay attention to them like that. So if these Black players really wanted to make that change they're talking about to an extreme level, enacting that they all leave the NBA and make their own league, that's something completely different. But we keeping it real. We know they're not doing that. So with that being said, Sterling, I love the topics you discussed on how they could affect change by playing, and the money issue you brought up, how much money they would be losing if they decided we're not going to play, but we're also not making another league, but we're not going to play. And the money that is lost is affecting us and what we can do for our families and the community. We all know in America, there's a huge difference in the economic gap between white Americans and Black Americans. It's an astronomical difference. So me personally, just being a fan, being a supporter of the cause, it's hard for me to say to these NBA players, even though they make millions of dollars, just throw it away if they're not going to make a direct impact of the laws changing If that was the case, if the laws are going to be changed by doing this, that's a different story. So when I look at these black men who could make a little bit of money in the grand scheme of it all, I respect for them to come back into play and to be able to make, a positive change in the communities. I'm hopeful that the NBA is able to adhere to what the players have been requesting. That's another part in it. So the NBA is saying that the players have until June 24th to decide if they want to play or not. And I believe the majority of players will play. We might have a few that say, you know what, I'm not with it. I'm not going to do it. And that's okay too. I respect that they don't want to come back. I understand. Besides the movement, we understand that COVID-19 is still a thing. Okay? You might not even be safe to play. And we'll get into that in the next segment. But I just want to put that out there. There's a lot of things going on emotionally, mentally, physically for everybody involved in this, where you have to think twice, maybe three times on your decision. So I respect the players for wanting to have that right to have their opinion. One more thing I would like to address, though, is that the division amongst us as black people when it comes to this topic. We've seen, the different sports shows the last few days, and it's like one topic of division, whether it's players calling each other sellouts or, people looking at a person like a Stephen A. Smith, calling him a coon or an Uncle Tom and things like that. It's tough sometimes. And Stephen A. is one of those people that Sterling and I, really respect and admire. At the same time, more recently, things he's been saying, can't rock with it. Like, it's tough. So you gotta, you look at the talking heads in the media, you look at the players, and at the end of the day, I think if they do come back, and they could be able to affect change in a strong way. Now, personally, I'm hopeful that them coming back to play won't be as big a distraction as, Kyrie may think, or, Steven Jackson, or, Dwight Howard and the other players feel. But one more thing I want to say, bro, is that, and I'll pass it back to you, is that the players in the NBA, if one league more than others, at least in American sports, the NBA players have a lot to say. At least that's the perception. So my thing is, before they come back in July, I want to see the NBA. The owners, people. I'm talking about the billionaires, okay? The owners. We need to know from them, what are they going to be able to do as a league, for one, and with each individual team in its individual city, what are they going to be able to do to provide for the black community? And one thing I will say too, I know we always say the black community, but it's more so black people. When people say the black community, it's like, okay, we're going to separate ourselves from you guys. You guys are over there. This is y'all problem. We got to just start saying black people. We're all Americans, right? Why can't we just say black people? I feel like the people and the powers that be like to keep us segregated. Oh, well, you guys are the black community. And that's a deeper topic we'll get into another time. But I'm just saying, oh, that's the black community. We could help the black community. How about help black people? We're all American, okay? Like, how many times we got to keep going through this? So here, hopefully in the next few days, a week, before the players have to agree before they come back or not, I'm hopeful that we can hear from Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, the owners, and come together and let us know what are the real changes that are going to be put in place. Where are the funds that are made by the league? Where are they going to go? How are these communities, how are our nation going to be impacted? Not just the black community, I'm talking about black people. So whether you're in New York, Florida, LA, New Mexico, Atlanta, Indianapolis, it don't matter, all across the nation, we want to see how is change going to be enacted through the NBA. And bro, I'm going to kick it back to you, but I just wanted to make sure those points were heard.
Yeah, man, that was, what you said was just great. It needed to be said. If there's any league, like you kind of said, that I believe that can do it, it's the NBA. Adam Silver, one thing I will say about him is he really does listen to his players. And I feel like once the players go present a plan, I feel like that's something that Adam Silver really be receptive to. Owners, and that's a different question. But that's where Adam Silver is going to come into play, be able to smooth things between the owners and the players. Like I said before, we do need to know, what organizations they're going to affiliate themselves with as far as, donating money and things of that nature. Like I said, I mentioned HBCUs, historically black colleges. I think it needs to start something, like that there. Donate to the athletic departments there as well. They could definitely use the funds there. Donate to a lot more charities, a lot more nonprofit organizations that really need assistance. So I'm just hopeful that the NBA players come up with a plan. As of now, they don't have one. And I think right now they don't know what that plan is going to be. And I think they really need to spend time on it. And what I don't want to happen is I just don't want people to forget about this topic either. And that's one of the concerns that I do agree with Kyrie Irving on, is that by the NBA players playing, it could shift the focus away of what's going on in America right now. That part I do agree with him on. Yeah, but it's up to the NBA players to make sure that doesn't happen, and the league as a whole to not allow that to happen. That's why I said put Black Lives Matters throughout the whole entire arena. Ain't no fans going to be there. So you might as well put that there so people know the names of the individuals who died from police brutality. That is key to me. That needs to be, seen. I mean, just imagine they did something like that, everybody at home watching that and feeling that.
Yes, sir. It's a big step, and I think it's almost unrealistic in a sense. And I'm not trying to sound cynical, but when you think about these leagues, right, and appealing to their fans, I would hope that they do this, but I don't even want to guarantee that they will, just because we know how they are. But I think this will make a huge statement. It will be moving in the right direction. It's crazy. I mean, we're not in their position, but looking from afar, just judging like how, things have gone on in the past. And, we're at an unprecedented time right now with a lot of things going on, obviously, health related, emotionally related, physical, spiritual, all that. So, man, it's like, and I know at first, remember, we were kind of like, you know what, Kyrie's got a point, he got a strong point. And I still believe his point is strong. I feel like his point was misconstrued because I feel like a lot of people just don't like Kyrie, or they just don't vibe with him for whatever reason. They might think he's a weirdo. They might think he's just different, right? He said the earth is flat. People are like, oh my God. So whatever reason, people just not really vibing with Kyrie. I feel like he could have approached it better. But the people attacking him, I feel like also could have approached it better as well. I mean, when you got people, Stephen A. Smith talking about it was foolish for him to say what he'd said, I feel like you could disagree with a man and don't have to disrespect him in the same tone. So there's been a lot of back and forth, and
let's talk about it. No, you keep saying Stephen A. Let's bring up that man Kendrick Perkins. No, let's do it. Let's go right to Kendrick Perkins, because I'm gonna go there. Look,
go ahead.
Here's my thing. I just don't like the fact that he really attacked Kyrie's intelligence. He really tried to call the man dumb. And to me, I have an issue with that, because it goes back to what you said. We can't have a divide between us as African Americans. We can't have that right now. My thing is this. Kendrick Perkins, if you got an issue with Kyrie is saying, get him on the phone. Talk to him. Have that conversation to see what his dialogue was with 80 to 100 NBA and WNBA players on that conference call. Call the man. Same thing with Stephen A. Call the man. And I'll say this too. I'm a big Kevin Durant fan. You ain't got to call Kendrick Perkins a sellout. That's not something that needs to be seen on social media. Call the man. You got his number. You played with him. I know they got some issues right now about some previous comments Kendrick made about Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. Okay, fine. But this is a time where there does not need to be division. You brothers need to get on the phone and talk. Point blank. Bashing each other on television, that's not good. I get it, Stephen A. and Kendrick, you guys got a job. But at the same time, it's not difficult to pick up the phone and be like, hey, man, what were you thinking about this topic? Explain to me your thought process behind this NBA Players Coalition. That's okay to ask that question. Because, I mean, it's on everybody's minds. And like you said, Avery, like you said, hey, Kyrie could have explained it better. Yes, he could have. But at the same time, man, this up here bashing each other about, he's not thinking things through and things like that. That does not need to be said, man. Not in this time that we're in right now.
No, for sure, and you're right again, because it takes away from the. I mean, the cause itself of everything that's going on is like, even these discussions, it feels like it's taken away from it in a sense, right? You feel like it's getting taken away because of these distractions in the media, sports media, about who said what, who's right, and it's like, look, at the end of the day, we understand the players are going to come back. I mean, they already have COVID to worry about too. So that's another thing in itself. Coming back, how's that going to work? So my thing is this, man. I mean, as a people in this time right now, from young, middle age and old, it's a lot of difference in opinions. You go on different websites, you go on different social media pages, and every day it's like a different opinion from us Black people, just between ourselves on certain issues. We, calling someone this, calling someone that. And I think it's time we got to hear everyone's perspectives, but it's time for a change. So at the end of the day, if you're not either part of the problem, you're part of the solution. That's how I look at it. So, and with these NBA players, I believe that they actually do want to make change. But my thing, well, I'm going to be waiting to hear what exactly is the league going to do. Because if we don't know that, then I'm going to side back with Kyrie on don't play. But you already have your health issues to worry about. I'm hopeful, though, that when they come back, it will not take away from the movement. I feel like even right now at this moment, it seemed like, we might be moving a little bit away from it. Not everybody, but just as far as the George Floyd protest went, and there's a lot of other things going on as well, here in Atlanta as well as around the country. But I think we always got to keep that momentum. And that's just us as like regular people, right? What we're doing, and not always just relying on the athletes to make the change, but a lot of them, they have that platform. This is the time for them to use it, athletes, entertainers, and the like. And again, we've seen, people disappoint us, people we might have looked up to, idolized in these roles and positions of influence because of the time. Because as I said before, the pull your card season, and those who are not with it, y'all getting your cards pulled, and cancel culture and everything else. So it's tough out here in these streets, in these social media streets. If you, say the wrong thing, or if you do something that might be looked at or deemed questionable or counterproductive in this time, you will be called out. So pulling your card is going on for all 2020, as we stated in the first episode, and it will continue. So hopefully we'll keep it moving. But go ahead, bro. I know you had to say something.
No, so basically, so Avery is putting Adam Silver, the NBA owners, on notice. It's pull your car season 2020. Hashtag it, Adam Silver, NBA owners. Avery has put y'all on notice. I just want y'all to know.
That's it, bro. I will be waiting patiently with, I'm sure, a lot of our listeners. We want to know, what is the NBA going to do, along with other leagues too. But we'll get into that a little bit later. All right. The NBA is coming back. We had stated this in the last episode, but we have some more breaking news and information about what is being called the Disney World bubble. We understand, we broke it down to you of teams, and the breakdown of the seeding, and how is that going to work with their 8-game playing, basically like a warm-up for them. Sterling and I, we gave you guys our finals picks. I know Sterling had the Clippers and the Milwaukee Bucks. I have the Clippers and the Boston Celtics, as much as it pains me to say. But more importantly, to what we're getting into right now is, what exactly is this bubble going to look like? Okay. And if you guys have been paying attention, there was a 100 plus page document sent to the teams that will outline the rules, the many rules, for the Disney World bubble. This stuff is crazy, man. Some of it's hilarious to me. So let's dive right into it, okay? We have some very specific things that stood out in this 100 page document. Number one, the players must throw away playing cards after each game. You're probably like, Avery, what are you talking about? Playing cards? Listen, we know the NBA players are notorious card players, whether it's on a plane, a hotel room. Card playing has been a part of basketball players' downtime for decades, okay? The NBA is saying that they're requiring all players to wear a mask while playing cards. And the players must throw away the deck of cards when the game is over. This is part of the NBA health protocols that concede maintaining 6 feet of distance during card games. May not be practical, and for all the listeners out there, if you guys playing, whether you play poker, whether you playing spades, whatever game you all be playing, right? It's kind of hard to keep 6 feet distance. Whether you playing just your boy, you playing your girl, whoever you playing, or if you playing in a group of like 5-6 people. At that table, it's kind of hard to keep 6 feet distance. Especially if y'all, gambling, you putting money down, y'all might be getting close to each other's faces, stuff like that. I don't know if that's gonna work. These NBA players, I don't think that's gonna work. So they're saying you gotta get rid of the deck of cards at the end of each game. And they're stating that they will have sufficient packs of cards to be available. So it's gonna be like a casino, man. They're gonna have new cards every day. Moving on to the next thing I saw that was kind of funny and interesting. Anyone who tests positive for COVID-19 must enter what they call isolation housing. The NBA has informed teams that it will begin testing players for COVID-19 on June 23rd and will continue testing every other day throughout the remainder of the season. Within a Disney bubble, anyone who tests positive will enter the isolation housing. This will be a separate facility from the rest of the NBA campus. Those that are in isolation will be permitted to leave when they receive consecutive negative tests for the coronavirus. Next, there is a no pets allowed rule. So they have dogs, cats, whatever, gerbils, hamsters, not allowed to come to the bubble. Moving forward, and I think this is one of the biggest ones on here. Testing for recreational drugs will be suspended. That's right, recreational drugs. So we're not talking about steroids or get lean or build muscle or inject yourself with something. No, not that. That will still be tested for. But as we know, the NBA, they don't really use those types of drugs like that. Now, some may do, but we're talking about recreational drugs like marijuana. They will be suspending those tests for the remainder of the season. Now, we're keeping it real. These players are going to be like shacked up with their players, with their teammates. For the good teams that make it through, this could be about like a 3-month process from July through October. Okay. We're keeping it real. If they're not going to test you for recreational drug, we basically know what the league's trying to say. All right. I might not have to actually verbally say it to you. You guys can picture in your minds what the league is saying when we're saying we are not going to test you for recreational drugs during this time. So, what I'm saying, you could see it for what it is right there. Another thing, players can wear what's called smart rings, okay? Players and staff will be provided with smart rings that may help with early coronavirus detection, as the rings monitor temperature, heart rate, and respiration rate. That's something crazy. Now, with all the lack of, testing that we've come to acknowledge as a nation when coronavirus has started, you were going to tell me that these players are going to have a ring to wear that's going to track their heart rate, respiration rate, and other variables that will feature what is called an illness probability score that will indicate if a player might be at greater risk of contracting coronavirus or may have it. That seemed kind of crazy to me. I don't know what to think of that. Now, I don't know. That's kind of weird, honestly. But I mean, when you're a pro sports team like this, I guess you have access and you're privy to things that us regular people are not. And one last thing, and this is where we get into some funny stuff, bro. And I want you to kind of comment on it after this. The players can call what is called an anonymous hotline to quote unquote snitch on others. Yes, the NBA is setting up an anonymous hotline for players to call and report any safety protocols being ignored Whether it's not obeying the doubles rule in ping pong. Y'all hear me? I said the doubles rule in ping pong, man. Or not disposing of a deck of cards after a game. Players will have the opportunity to snitch on one another. I don't know who made this rule up, bro. And whoever did, something wrong with them. Let's break it down like this, okay? The Walt Disney complex that they're staying at. They're separating teams based on seed. And I know, bro, you're gonna get into that and elaborate. But you're telling me that for teams that could be there for months on end, they're gonna be able to snitch on each other, and you're opening up an anonymous hotline for it. To me, this is where things get kind of messy. It's like, wait a minute. You know what we need to do for all our listeners? We might have to develop like a top 5 snitch list in the NBA. We gonna have to make who are gonna be the top 5 snitch people in the NBA. I need to know.
I can tell you number 1 gonna be
who are going to be the Tekashi 6ix9ines of the NBA. All right, who are going to be the snitches? And Sterling and I could contemplate and speculate who we believe, but man, that honestly is probably the funniest thing I've seen with this rule, man. Like with these rules, I don't understand. But what do you think, bro? I mean, they snitching, I guess, out here in these streets.
Oh no, they snitching for real. They snitching
in the land of Disney World, bro. This is supposed to be the happiest place on earth, Disney World, and you have a snitch hotline. I don't get it. I just don't know what to say. I don't know what to think of it.
Hey man, Mickey Mouse will get snitched on messing around with them. Shoot, he better not be in the vicinity, bro. I'm just saying. Hey, just real quick on the snitching topic. For all those players out there who got them side pieces, y'all better not get snitched on because they got that hotline and they will report who you messing with. So y'all better be careful, especially if you're married. That's all I got to say. So hey,
oh my God,
just be careful, fellas, because people gonna be snitching on you.
You gonna have like. So all right, for everyone who might not be aware, if you didn't listen to the first episode, you got to go back and listen. But we broke it down. There's going to be 22 teams at the start. Now, obviously, when we get past that first round, it'll be 16 teams total, 8 from the West, 8 from the East. So we'll, cut the fat off, as I will call. Cut the fat, cut the dead weight. The ones who don't make it, you're out of here, going home. Everybody else, that's when it gets to the real nitty gritty when the playoffs start. It will be very interesting to see how these players are when it comes to bringing guests. Now, Sterling, you have, I think, more information on exactly how that will work, right? When they get to the next round of bringing guests. Can you kind of go into that?
Oh, when they get to the next round, yes. Yeah, I do. So basically, after the first round of the playoffs is completed, each of the 8 remaining teams will be allowed to reserve between 15 and 17 hotel rooms for player guests. The number of rooms allocated to teams will be equal of the number of players they have on campus. Players will pay for the rooms for the guests as well. To be allowed on campus, guests will have to self-quarantine for a week and then quarantine and be tested at least every other day for 3 days in either the home market or outside the NBA campus in Orlando. Anyone who tests positive during this period won't be allowed to enter the NBA campus. So, I mean, like, that's crazy, man.
Where they get all these tests from? That's what I want to know.
Hey, but you know what, though? I'm going to be honest with you, though. I know to our viewers out there, a lot of this seems very strict, and I get it. But you have to keep in mind, there's going to be 374 players on this campus. On top of that, it's going to be 20 more people per team, which include team personnel, public relations directors. I'm just throwing out names. Also, like your doctors,
training staff,
trainers, yeah, all that. So you have to take that into account. There's going to be a lot of people on this campus. So I see why the NBA is going to the extreme lengths. Now I don't like the hotline call. That one, that's overboard now. Now you got to call somebody to say I'm out and about. I'll be pretty upset. But at the same time, I understand why the NBA is going to this extreme lengths because they want the season to continue and to end at the end of October. And as of now, I don't know if anybody has, seen this or not. They don't have a plan if things get worse. Just say, for example, there's a huge breakout of players who get coronavirus. What's going to happen to the NBA season? I'm just curious. Are they going to have to cancel again?
Mm.
Because
Remember, they said too, bro, they're going to have replacement players, right?
nobody trying to see that.
As an option.
Nobody trying to see that. And they can cancel that. They can cancel that. Nobody trying to see that.
I'm there with you, man. I'm there with you.
And another thing with this, 100-page document, they also talked about older coaches. And I think that's a very big concern. Basically they said it's going to be up to the league to determine which coaches can come, especially over the age of 65. So if you're at a high risk, basically at that age, and you have, elements and a lot of illnesses and things like that, they'll probably tell you that you can't come. So, and I know.
Yeah, that's going to be huge.
Yeah, and I know a lot of coaches talked about that. It was like, it's going to be rough, me not being able to be with my team and interact with them and just be around them on a day-to-day basis. That's going to be kind of rough. So that's going to be interesting as well. I know they talked about how the games will be like. They basically said the players were spread out over 2 rows of seating. They said there'd be public address announcers there and numerous cameras to capture the events. They actually said you will see people in the stands. I don't know who those people will be. Obviously, it won't be fans. I'm guessing team personnel, maybe some owners, maybe the media. I mean, I guess. I mean, I'm assuming that's probably going to be the media, team executives, and, union personnel, people like that. And some sponsors as well, probably.
Keep it real. You know what I'm saying? You really think them owners going to be in the stands for real? I don't think they will.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised to see some there. I think
I would be surprised, and you know why though? Because for one, listen, man. I hate to call this bubble like an experiment, but it's kind of almost like an experiment. If you're one of these owners, right, you trying to stay as far away from this as possible. You know why? Because your old behinds do not want to get sick. And
it's true.
You have the option to, I'm going to let my players and coaches listen until we get to like the finals. I don't even say like the conference finals. We ain't going to see the owners up that close because remember, we used to, the owners maybe being in like a suite or a box or something like somewhere, away from people. Now, obviously with this, you're not going to have to worry too much about who's there, but I'm telling you now, I would be shocked if I see any owners until like the final rounds of these playoffs, to keep it real with you. I don't believe they're going to be as visible as we think.
Mark Cuban's going to be visible. You know what I mean? Like,
that's one of the 16 owners in the play.
Like he's always in the midst of things, even though Danny Ainge's not an owner, Danny Ainge is always in the stand. In the stands, Zach,
GM. Oh, for sure. Oh, you know what? That's too. The GMs too. I think we'll see more GMs than owners. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably, but like Steve Ballmer, he's always at the games. I just feel like you will see certain ones. I'm not saying it's going to be a huge lump sum, but I would not be surprised to see some owners out just to support their players in this current time that we're in now. I can see some getting out there.
We gonna have some that's gonna be hiding though. Because here's my thing with the media because the media is gonna have to be there. I don't know how they're gonna be where they're gonna put the media at, but they're gonna be there covering it. And I'll be surprised because they, if we keeping it real with how the players want this to not be a distraction, to me, that means that the media should be able to ask questions about what's still going on in America. And with that being said, we are going to hear from the players probably, even if it's not prompted to them, they'll allude to it. They'll make some suggestions or they'll make recommendations or they'll just shout out people that's, moving around, the movers and shakers of the movement itself. Now, if we have these owners around, I don't think they're going to want to talk about it. As we know, with these owners from multiple sports leagues, they're not really trying to talk about this. They're the ones that honestly want to die down more than anything else, which is another important reason to see if they're going to respond to their players and make a change. So, but bro, real quick, I just wanted to kind of finish up the bubble by putting some more intricate details for you, okay? So the players are going to have lounges with NBA 2K, barbers, manicurists, okay? People gonna get their nails done and clipped and cleaned and all that good stuff. They're going to have a 24-hour VIP concierge. I wonder what's gonna be some of the stories of the people working these like hotels, by the way. They gonna have some like remarkable stories, by the way, if they ever get a chance to tell them. These concierge people, by the way. 24-hour VIP concierge? For real? I mean, hey man, the party doesn't stop. They gonna have movie screenings and DJs. Like, it's gonna be a party. Like, it's gonna be turned up in here, okay, at Disney World. They gonna have the
Yeah,
yeah.
I think another thing. I think another thing that needs to be noted is what happens when somebody leaves the campus without getting permission. Pretty much, it's pretty much saying here that no one will be stopped from leaving. But if someone leaves the campus without approval and wants to re-enter, they will face at least 10 days in quarantine.
Ooh.
It must undergo deep nasal testing. They said there are excused absences such as for family emergencies and birth of a child or other approved reasons. But pretty much if you leave without permission and you're not telling people where you're going to be in quarantine for 10 days. So, that's another thing too. Like I know a lot of players, especially, I know we talked about in the last topic, but a lot of them were also concerned about COVID-19, obviously, which you alluded to. I just think with that, players who I get why they are hesitant about these restrictions, but they also got to keep in mind as well. People out there in the world, we're going back to work.
Yep, that's true.
You know what I mean? And we got to wear masks. We got to wear face shields. Go to the grocery store. So, like Adam Silver them have to do this because, like I said, there's 374 players that's going to be on this campus, man. That's a lot of players. Like you have to be strict with the rules because if anything happens and goes wrong, it can shut the league down again. You cannot have a big spike of players getting coronavirus. It cannot happen. You got to keep it contained as much as possible. Now, I would say this. I think some players are going to catch it. I think it's going to be hard to avoid.
I think it's inevitable.
Yeah, like it's going to be, yeah. So, but I think if you can contain it, that's the best way you can do it. Now, I'm anxious to see if a Giannis or a LeBron or, a Joel Embiid, a Ben Simmons, a Jimmy Butler, whoever catches it in the midst of the playoffs. What does that do for that particular team? They lose a series because their best players are there.
Real.
Like, that's another thing that we have to consider with all of this. It's like if a star player gets it and they have to quarantine for 14 days, shoot, the playoff series is over.
It's a wrap.
You might as well cancel that series.
It's a wrap.
Just cancel it. It's over.
It's a wrap. Man, it's gonna be, listen, COVID, bro. Put it in layman's terms for my, my Marvel people out there. Shout out to my Marvel heads that listen to the podcast.
Hey.
COVID-19 is like Thanos. Okay, y'all seen Endgame by now. In the scene towards the end of the movie, okay, this is COVID as Thanos. You know what COVID is gonna say to all them NBA players in there? I am inevitable.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That's what COVID is going to do. I am inevitable, and that's what's gonna happen. So, shout out to my Marvel people. Y'all caught that? Yeah, man, Thanos. That's COVID right now. We ain't got no cure yet. So just be. I mean, I pray, the health and safety for all these players that, once the league does actually start. But listen, man, again, it's a bubble for a reason. Like,
absolutely,
y'all gonna be around each other for potentially 3 months.
Yeah, no, they are. I mean,
it's gonna be crazy to see how it's gonna work, man. You know what? And one last thing too, because I gotta get some laughs out. But when we think about like the players on these teams, right? When you think of a LeBron, multi-millionaire, mogul, philanthropist, like all that great stuff, great family man, father, all of that, from the highest man on the totem pole to the lowest on the team. Being that they're going to be around each other for so long, I wonder how the vibe's going to be. Now, LeBron has the luxury of going home to his mansion, his beautiful family and kids. LeBron ain't used to being, chilling with JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard every single day. When you go to sleep and wake up, they're right there. I mean, y'all know what I mean. I mean, like, they in the vicinity. But that's a different vibe. So I want to know, like, how are these, like, socially, how are they going to interact? Because we keeping it real, playing the game of basketball at this level, it is a job at the end of the day. right? You go to work, you practice together, go to dinner together, whatever. But you going home to your family at the end of the night. At this point, you guys are like in barracks, like in college almost. Like y'all gonna be right around each other. So I'm gonna be intrigued to see if this works, and also what team's gonna get tired of each other.
Bro, they can complain all they want. At the end,
I'm just saying, I'm gonna be listen. I want to see how with these social media. You know what they should have did for a rule? No social media posting. Don't go live, because it's gonna be crazy if we see one of these players do like IG live and they going around. Think about things that people do in college. They gonna go around the dorms, bang on the doors late at night. The possibilities are endless. Could have so many different storylines not related to basketball whatsoever, just to the fact of what they might actually get themselves into on this Disney campus. And I think the possibilities are endless for me, for what I envision.
Let me ask you this real quick. Here's my thing. Okay, I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree with your point. But my thing is this. This is their job, like you said. I get it. Okay, you ain't gonna want to be around JaVale McGee. Okay, that's fine. You ain't gonna want to be around seeing Anthony Davis all day. That's cool, LeBron. But my thing is this. This is your job at the end of the day. You got to do what you got to do. My thing is this. You got people in the nursing field right now. They see their colleague every day. You don't think they get tired of seeing them? I'm just saying. It is what it is. This is the job that you signed up for. I mean, unfortunately, circumstances with COVID-19 have taken place. But come on now. Hey, you got to get through it. Oh, it's only for 3 months. 3 months. 3 months. This ain't for eternity.
At the same time.
This is 3 months. Okay, it's going to be rough, but at the end of the day, it's your job. Get out there. Focus on winning a championship for all the teams. Put all that, okay, it's hard. I ain't seeing such and such. Okay, I understand. I get that. But, hey.
Remember.
Hey, just saying.
As Thanos has said, bro, I am inevitable.
That is true.
COVID, listen, players, love and respect to y'all. There's no way on God's green earth you are telling me that through this entire span, no one's going to catch COVID there.
Oh, yeah.
And more importantly, a significant or star player. So that's my thing with it, man. I wish them best of luck. We already made our finals picks. We if everything goes according to plan, we might have this, the Clippers make it, playing either the Bucks or the Celtics. We'll see if that will remain true. Man, we gonna have some fun storylines. I'm telling you. I know, bro, it's their job, but at the same time, the age gap too is another thing of these players on the team. Some of them you got a lot of vets.
That's fine.
Some of them you got some young cats on there. It's gonna be cool to see how they vibe. That's all.
Okay, they grown men. Get through it. It's all good. Hey man, it's only for 3 months, brothers.
Oh no, I'm saying more just the comedy part of like who's gonna be hanging out with who. Who's gonna be like, okay?
it doesn't matter. You can be solo dolo and be just fine. Like it does. Like my thing is this.
Kawhi gonna be good, bro. Kawhi might like this idea more than anybody else being around his teammate. You never know.
Yeah, Kawhi gonna be fine.
The fun guy.
And the opposite side of it might build some good, chemistry with each other. You might find out something about a person that you didn't know when you was playing with them throughout the season. How about that?
Very true.
You might be able to, that might build some continuity. That's going to build a championship team right there. This could be good for these players. You never know.
Absolutely. Some parting words for this, I must say. Who gonna be the snitches? I need to know. Top 5 snitch lists, all right? We want to know from y'all. Top 5 snitch lists in the NBA. We gonna keep this going because I want to see who y'all gonna say. You might have some people that might be bench players, might be some superstars, but we are going to see this anonymous snitch list, which I think is hilarious. But we gonna see how it goes. Top 5 snitch list, all right? Top five. I want to see and who y'all think are gonna be on top. We gonna see. All right. You guys know there's been a lot going on in professional sports. We're obviously not having these games played by the majority of the leagues, but we've seen a lot of different professional sports leagues show solidarity amongst themselves, especially with the players. So we're going to take the time now in this episode to go over the different leagues, what they have been and what they have not been doing. So another prominent sport league, just like the NBA, is the NFL. You guys know the National Football League, and you guys have been paying attention. You may have seen that some of the prominent black players in the NFL put out a video talking about Black Lives Matter and calling out the league, calling out the owners, calling out Roger Goodell, the commissioner. And they were basically stating that, enough is enough. I'm glad they had some young players. They had Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP, okay, Ezekiel Elliott, Jamal Adams, amongst a bunch of other young brothers, young superstar brothers that are playing. Deshaun Watson, a lot of star players that are going to be the face of, if not already the face of the league, the face of the league for years to come. As a result of that, we saw Roger Goodell in his hostage video relay his message of how, as he was being held hostage in his basement, released a video talking about how the league is going to seriously take heed to, the warning from the players of, you guys need to make a change. So that was good for Raj, okay? That was good for him. He's standing up for his players, standing up for what's right. We obviously know that this is too little too late, but if we could get something now, I guess it's better late than never. So, bro, that's the end. How do you feel about what Goodell and what potentially these owners in the NFL should be doing, because we haven't heard them?
Well, we need to hear from them because they have 68% of African Americans in the NFL, so that we need to hear from them. First off,
I haven't, an owner that is very prominent that you're very fond of, as I've, come to know you for these years, bro. You're very fond of this specific owner of a specific franchise in the NFL.
There you go.
And the owner's name is Jerry Jones. If you guys aren't familiar with Jerry Jones, my boy Sterling, this is his favorite owner in all professional sports. Jerry Jones is the owner of Dallas Cowboys, America's team. Okay. No, my bad. That's my boy's favorite team. But I can't control the team he likes. That's just his preference. But Jerry Jones, a man of many words. After every game, he's the first one at the media interview, win, lose, or draw. Jerry Jones is the first man for the Dallas Cowboys to say a word, okay? He acts as if he's jury, judge, and executioner of his own team, which he has the right to. He's the owner. He thinks he's the owner, the GM, and the coach, okay? That might be a combo for a different discussion. But at the same time, when we think of the NFL, the prominent owners, Jerry Jones is at the top of the list, and this man has not said a word about what's been going on. So I take that, honestly, it's offensive to me. It should be offensive to those players, not just that, are for, I guess, work for him. I don't even like saying that, but that are part of his team. But all players around the league. I mean, some owners have dropped statements out, on social media, but they haven't really committed to any real change. And that's one thing I think is very kind of disheartening and disappointing. But at the same time, it is not surprising at all.
Well, I mean, only thing they've really done so far, besides the videos that you mentioned, and some owners have spoke out, they've also donated $250 million to bring awareness and dialogue and renewed direction to the conversation of racial and social inequality to undeserved communities.
Well, that's a start.
Yeah, I mean, it's a start. It's a start.
But at the same time, bro, we got to get them to we want to hear them. That's really
no. And one thing that we need to hear is breaking news: Colin Kaepernick has signed with the NFL team.
Ding, ding, ding.
That's what we need to hear.
That is it.
So, of course, we need to hear from them. And to be honest with you, I don't know if we will. To be honest with you, if we haven't heard now, when are we going to know? I mean, when are we going to hear from them? Now, I will say this: you talked about Jerry Jones. Now, the Dallas Cowboys organization, I don't know who was behind it, but they did put out a racial inequality video.
You would know better than me.
On social media. They did. They did do that. And then maybe that was a way of Jerry Jones speaking. But at the same time, we do know how Jerry Jones felt about players kneeling and things like that. He wasn't for it. We all know this.
Matter of fact, if y'all haven't seen the clip, you could probably just look it up. Just look Jerry Jones kneeling with players, okay? See what you find on YouTube. This man looked kind of uncomfortable, if I must say myself.
And another issue that I have with NFL and Roger Goodell, particularly the owners and Roger Goodell, why do they let Donald Trump have a voice over them? Why? That's the main sport that he talks about and what they should do with their players.
You know why? I give you a good reason why. Because I can't think of who to credit for this, but I've seen this on social media plenty of times. There are a handful of NFL owners, luckily not for my Philadelphia Eagles, thank God, but I might have to fact check this. But a lot of owners in the NFL are big Trump supporters. And when I mean supporters, I mean with their dollars, with their pockets. They have donated a lot to the Trump campaign. So I believe that is why Trump's voice resonates more with the NFL than other sports leagues, to keep it real with you. Another reason is because, and bro, I'm alluding to a few years back, some of y'all might already know this. Donald Trump years ago wanted to purchase the Buffalo Bills. He wanted to be a owner in the NFL in what is called, the Good Boys Club, okay? The owners did not let Trump into their Good Boys Club. A reason why Trump, I feel like, has so much to say towards the NFL is because they are ones that told him, no, this is someone who's got all the money in the world, you would think, right? Donald Trump, this is before he was a president of the United States. He wanted to own his professional sports team. They said no.
Well, you do know he was heavily involved with the USFL back in the day. So that's probably where a lot of the
for sure
football stems from with him too as well.
But he never got to be in the league he really, truly wanted to be in.
No, and he wasn't going to. He wasn't going to.
And number 45 was very disappointed with that. And I believe, as some of us may already know, number 45 sometimes holds grudges against people. And this is one of those grudges where he held against the NFL. This is back when, Colin Kaepernick was taken in the league. And in 2017, when he did state at a rally that, those sons of bees, get them off the field. Okay. So that obviously riled up the players. And that's when, after that statement that number 45 had made, that's when Jerry Jones decided to take a knee. So that's really, the owners were basically saying like, oh, you're not going to tell us what to do type of moment. So there's that, bro.
So that's kind of my point then. Like I get what you're saying, but at the same time, though, I'm sure there's other professional leagues that backed him as well. You know what I'm saying? As far as, voting for him and things like that. We won't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
oh no, that's a fact. You're absolutely right. I'm just saying that I think the NFL might have the most that
probably
donated to him. I could be wrong. We got to look it up because there's definitely big corporations, businesses, and stuff like that have donated. But as sports leagues, I think the NFL has the most representing as a sports league. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they did. But at the same time, though, you still can't tell a person how to run your league. At the end of the day, I don't care if he's a president or not. You are the National Football League Association. Like, you don't tell somebody how to run your league. I mean, my thing is this.
It's a private industry, so you're right about that.
I mean, my thing is this. Does he run ESPN? Because ESPN sure ran up Jemele Hill out of there after she made some comments. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, he has too much power where he can affect everything. And to me, that should...
I think, and it's more so people get scared, bro. Like you said, they're scared of what he's going to say.
Come on, man.
On the Twitter.
And then he had the nerve to say
every day.
The other day, I would welcome Colin Kaepernick to go back to the NFL. Welcome? Are you kidding me? Like, how are you going to welcome somebody? Like, get out of here. Talking about I'll be all for it.
Whose man's is this? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, like, what?
We letting him, but then again, we know
get him on the Chargers, man.
Yep, and hopefully that could be. I think a thing is too. We know Cap's been out the league for 4 years. I believe that it's hard to say he's going to get back because he's been out for so long. I feel like people can make so many excuses on why he shouldn't be back, and it's unfortunate. And I'm hopeful that they will at least. I'm not even saying at least. They need to sign him. Point blank. Period. Like, enough is enough. If they don't sign him this year, they're never going to sign him ever again. This is it. This is the last chance. This is the only way. Okay, as I've been saying, this is the only way. All right. Again, another Marvel reference. I'm going to Infinity War. Okay. Doctor Strange looked at Iron Man when he gave Thanos the time stone. He said, "It's the only way. This is the only way, NFL. Let Cap back into the league. That's it. Like that. That's point blank, period. Let Cap back. It's the only way." Well, that being said, we have some other sports leagues we'll get into. Now we have NASCAR. So NASCAR is something that my bro and I are not really too fond of. Shout out to whoever is fond of NASCAR. No disrespect, just not. It's not our cup of tea. But they have done something of significance that I personally did not believe they would do. NASCAR has, I believe, one African American driver. His name is Bubba Wallace. And recently NASCAR, they've actually been back to their races. They, as far as the whole social distance and stuff, I mean, they're in cars, so it works a little differently that way. But they've actually returned, one of the few sports leagues that actually returned to play. And they were actually, believe it or not, showing solidarity, whether, I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did. And Bubba Wallace was kind of at the front of that. They made a video similar to what the NFL players did, condemning racism and, speaking out about, the Black Lives Matter movement. And I don't know if it's because they have Bubba Wallace as a driver. I'm not going to say he's like a scapegoat for them doing it, but I don't know if it may have been done because he is the lone black driver in NASCAR, but it only takes one. So I'm happy that they did it. More importantly, NASCAR is really big in the South, and NASCAR has removed Confederate flags from their racing events. I think it's the Atlanta Motor Speedway down here in Georgia. They had one of the races not too long ago, maybe about a week ago. I could be off by a day or two. They had a race and the drivers were showing solidarity when some were taking the knee during the anthem. Some of the, forgive me if I'm getting the position of these players wrong, but like the people on the driving team, like the people that help like change the tires and, keep the cars moving and stuff, their team, they were taking, some of the black people who work for NASCAR were taking the knee during the anthem and, showing solidarity. And NASCAR is a sports league I did not believe would ever do something like this. But that just goes to show you, I mean, if NASCAR can do it, NFL, wake up. MLB, wake up. What are y'all doing? NBA, wake up. They're, in as minor of a significance as we may say it is, at the end of the day, they at least did it.
So let me, I was about to just chime in real quick. Just for our viewers who maybe do not know what the Confederate flag stands for, I'll just give you just a quick description of it. It's displaying the flags of the Confederate States of America in the modern era, which began as a response to the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s and continues to the present in support of white nationalist and white supremacist movements. So just to give you guys just a background, just in case of people out there who don't know, that's what the Confederate flag is. Bubba Wallace has led the charge on this. I don't know if you've seen this, bro. I apologize if I can not pronounce this man's name correctly. His name is Ray. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know if you heard it. It starts with a C. Cicerelli. I'm sorry. Apologize, people, if I didn't pronounce it correctly. I can't pronounce the man's name. But all I know is this man made an announcement basically saying that he was going to threaten to leave NASCAR because they were taking the Confederate flag down. He later tried to retract the statement and pretty much say that it wasn't really about the Confederate flag. It was about people not standing for the flag or kneeling and, and things like that. But basically, this guy threatened to leave NASCAR because they were taking Confederate flag down. And from the research I did about this guy, like I said, I apologize. I do not know how to pronounce this guy's last name, but his first name is Ray. And apparently he's not really a well-known driver. So, when they discussed this, a lot of people were like, well, he can pack his bag and go home. A lot of people were just like, well, you're not known anyway. so, hey, who are you to have a comment? But it just shows you the ignorance of his comment in that a lot of people still do not understand what Colin Kaepernick was doing when he kneeled during the national anthem. It just shows you the level of ignorance out there. And that, I know we talked about Drew Brees last week, but here's another example of another person who just doesn't understand and still wants to be stuck in their own ways. I would like to ask that gentleman, Ray, do you know what the Confederate flag means? Because I just gave the definition. So it was basically, being against the civil rights movement. So pretty much what you're saying is you're against African Americans. So as a result, hey, you can pack your bag and go home, sir. Nobody needs you in NASCAR. You're not even known anyway. So I'll just leave it at that.
Man, that's crazy. I didn't know about that. But another thing too about the Confederate flag, I believe, at least down south, for whatever reason, I feel like people down here that support it still, they act it's like part of their heritage in a sense. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of weird that in America, other countries, that's like, for example, if Germany now, they're not going to highlight the Nazis, okay, the Nazi flag, and have statues of Adolf Hitler to represent history. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, these are it's history," and also getting into like some historic Confederate monuments, statues in these southern states, and people are like, "Oh, it's a part of history." I'm like, "You're right, it is," but at the same time, like, Why would we support the losers in this country? Now, I'm keeping it real. Now, the Civil War was won by the North, correct? So obviously, for whatever reason, in the South, it's like a huge deal to maintain this Confederate flag all over. They just don't understand what it really represents, or they're just like willfully being ignorant to what it represents at this point. I mean, we're in 2020. If you really have to fight about the flag, I think it's something that's just utterly ridiculous at this point. Okay. Regardless of how much you think your family's heritage and stuff, listen, man, you don't have Nazis out here, in public hanging up flags and swastikas and all that. That's just not, it's not, you don't get down like that here or in other countries. Like, yes, it's important to understand the history behind these people, but to highlight them as if these people should be your idols is just so ignorant to me, and it's kind of disgusting. But I'm glad you brought that point up. I want to transition to soccer. So, or maybe some of you might know it as football, not American football, of course, but I want to talk about the Premier League. And again, soccer is not our cup of tea, okay? But we still gonna get into it. So one thing I've seen that was really powerful by the Premier League. The Premier League is a soccer league, y'all, that goes on overseas. That is not Major League Soccer that happens in the United States here. So it's a little different. But I did want to mention that they had returned from their hiatus because of COVID-19. They were 100 days since the last game when this had happened a few days ago. And basically, the Premier League had all 22 players on with the pitch, or the soccer field, but the pitch is what they call it. Simultaneously, they took a knee. The staff on the benches and the referees also showed support for the Black Lives Matter movement and to honor the late George Floyd. That happened in both Aston Villa versus Sheffield United and Man City versus Arsenal. So, not a huge soccer fan, but all 20 clubs are showing support of the Black Lives Matter movement in the opening 12 games of the restart by wearing Black Lives Matter on the back of their shirts instead of the player names, while having a badge of support will also be on every jersey for the rest of the season. Another thing I'll point out is that before the game, a moment of silence was held for the victims of the coronavirus pandemic, while all the 20 Premier League teams will also wear a badge on their jerseys to represent the hospital staff in the UK. So this is overseas, like in Europe, and they're still, paying their respects to the movement of Black Lives Matter, which is very important in America. But we also understand that racism takes over all over the world, not just America. So in soccer, a sport that I don't watch that much, just to see them, standing in solidarity and putting Black Lives Matter on their jersey, I think is important too. And we alluded to earlier, bro, we talked about what is the NBA going to do? And we talked about the t-shirts and things like that. I mean, if we really get into it, maybe y'all have it on the jerseys too. I mean, I don't know. That for the NBA, that might be too big a step, but is it really at this point? We'll see.
Yeah. And what I loved about soccer too, for example, the New England Revolution, they hosted a round table to discuss Black Lives Matter. Charlie Davy was the one who hosted it. But, and also DC United, they had a round table discussion as well. And I think that's important dialogue to have. I think we actually have that a lot more. And not even just among athletes, just amongst ourselves in general. I think we need to continuously have those dialogue conversations in a big arena to discuss the importance of Black Lives Matter. So shout out to soccer for doing that, man. That really shows a lot. And honestly, I'm very disappointed that this wasn't highlighted more throughout, various, sport outlets from ESPN, things like that, because that should have been highlighted. That should have been very discussed of what they are doing. And like you said, that's something the NBA should probably really consider about having not their not their last name of their jerseys on the back. Put Black Lives Matter. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and that should be something again. I'm waiting patiently, Adam Silver. I want to know. I will be waiting to see what y'all do. But shout out to the Premier League, man, in soccer. Like I might actually try to watch it now more, just because that they've shown that they can do that. One more league I want to just talk about real quick is Major League Baseball. If y'all don't know, I'm big into baseball, from playing it growing up. I love the New York Yankees. Shout out to my Yankees, of course. Best professional sports team in the world. But besides that, when we talk about Major League Baseball, hey, we got the chips, bro, 27. Yes, sir. So when we talk about Major League Baseball and what they have done, I left a space there because that's what they did. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I want to be very clear that shout out to all the black players in the league who have been stepping up. And the black players in the MLB made a video similar to the NFL, talking about Black Lives Matter. Shout out to Aaron Judge and the Yankees, Marcus Stroman. Shout out to him. Shout out to Adam Jones. Shout out to CC, who retired, but he was in the video. All the prominent black players. Mookie Betts was in there. Andrew McCutchen. A lot of prominent black players in Major League Baseball, some veterans, some young cats as well. Shout out to y'all for making the video. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe I seen they made it so it was 42 black players. I'm not saying that there's only 42, but I saw 42 black players in there. And to represent, Jackie Robinson, we know Jackie Robinson was the player to break the color barrier for Major League Baseball. Jackie Robinson was someone who's also idol of mine, and idolizing how he came into the game and disrupted it. A reason that I could play baseball as a kid because of Jackie Robinson. So shout out to all those players who did it. But again, Major League Baseball, I know y'all going through some stuff right now with trying to schedule the season, but they have done absolutely nothing besides post that video on social, which was the players, but the owners, the commissioners, listen, they haven't shown me nothing. So I don't really got much to say besides I'm highly disappointed in them. And I know they're trying to get their season started, but I can't really support them at the moment. I support the players. Shout out to them. And I mean, that's, they're showing solidarity. But again, the same question arises: when or if the owners will actually show any ounce of caring whatsoever about the movement. I don't know, bro.
You know what issue is that I really have with baseball? And to be honest, bro, this could be a reason why they'll even feel the need to speak out. And it's sad. So in Jackie Robinson's last game in 1956, African Americans in MLB were 6.7%. Today's number is 7.7%. It only went up 1%, bro. So that was 64 years ago. And you can answer this better than me because I know you play baseball. And maybe a lot of African Americans maybe just are not into the sport. But what has baseball done to actually ingratiate themselves with the African American community to actually get out there and have African Americans be interested in the sport?
That's a deep conversation that I think we could have at another time because that is a big thing.
We can do it later, but man, like,
And I think, yeah, and I think the Major League Baseball, I believe, like more so like in the 80s and the 90s was more for black players. As we transitioned to like the 2000s, I think we definitely like drew away from that. So that's something for sure that needs to be addressed. And just from my experiences, whether it was playing, coaching, interning, professional sports team, I want to see more black, boys and girls get into baseball and softball, but there is a long way to go. And Major League Baseball is so behind. And it's almost sad at the point of where they are.
Proof is in the numbers.
It's all in the numbers. Taking the positive from it, shout out the players, shout out, soccer, the Premier League, NASCAR stepping up. Okay. Not expecting them to, definitely. With Goodell and the owners, they're I guess trying, but at the end of the day, it's really the players are the ones who make the change, make the movement continue and grow. Shout out to all the players in all the leagues across the globe who are taking time to respect the movement and actually wanting to show change with, some of the players being there protesting, putting their money into the right organizations and letting their voices be heard and letting us, as regular people, letting our voices be heard and sharing posts and doing things like that on social media and being out there as well. So much respect to them. We'll definitely get into it more so later on, but much respect to the leagues, and we hope to see more progress as we continue. All right, so we are going to finish up this episode by answering the questions that we had submitted by some of our listeners of the show. So shout out to y'all for being active on Instagram earlier today. We wanted to make sure that we engage our fans, and we got a lot of responses on what we should talk about. So this segment right here, we're going to keep this quick, but we wanted to address 3 topics that we thought were really interesting, hot, and savory at the moment that we might not have gotten into earlier in the show. So, bro, number 1, I'm going to let you start, but the NFL players taking a knee for this season. There's been a lot of talk between a lot of players all over the league talking about taking a knee this year. We've heard from some of the top players in the league, and another thing, some of the white players in the league. J.J. Watt, as we all know, is a all-pro player, will be probably a first ballot Hall of Famer. Talk about taking a knee. Baker Mayfield, the young quarterback, talking about taking a knee. So, along with black players taking a knee, we haven't really seen white players take a knee. And according to what they've been saying, it appears as though they'll be taking a knee as well. So, bro, I was curious of what do you feel about that?
Well, first, we know Drew Brees ain't going to do it, so let's get that out the way.
Well, you never know now. I mean,
He ain't going to do it.
He'll be going against his word if he did, but for a good cause.
I think that means they're moving in the right direction. What also tells me is, a lot of white players 4 years ago, they really weren't really speaking out like they are now, especially in the NFL. So I just love the fact that they're coming out, speaking out, saying, hey, we're going to take a knee against, racial injustice. I think that's a huge step for the league. I think you're going to see more players continuously do this, more white players I'm talking about. So, shout out to Baker Mayfield and J.J. Watt for doing this. I know also Kyler Murray, even though he's African-American, obviously he said he was going to take a knee as well. We're going to see this trend, I think, continue. Obviously, and I will say this, there's going to be some pushback. You're going to hear people come out there and say ratings are going down because they're taking a knee. But for the players out there, once you hear that message, don't be discouraged. Continuously do it because your voice matters. Whether it doesn't matter which race you are, your voice matters. And, basically take a stand against something, continue it. Don't give up, guys, because there's going to be a lot of pushback from, your peers and also people within the media and fans. So just shout out to those players who are going to do it, man. So I'm proud of
Definitely. And I hope they do it. Again, to our listeners, I'm saying, whatever race you guys are, regardless of all of that, listen, I believe that, and hopefully y'all understand it, but if you don't, again, as we've mentioned before, taking a knee was never meant to disrespect the flag. Okay. We're not for disrespecting the flag. I mean, it's been explained numerous times at this point. So it's like beating a dead horse. But I think just showing solidarity with white players, black players, Hispanic players, and the like, I think will be great. So definitely want to see that moving forward. I'm definitely advocating for it. And if the NFL is really about change, they will allow their players to do it. So that's something we're going to keep an eye on as we get closer to the NFL season. We might revisit that topic again.
Looking at you, Roger.
Yeah. Moving to the next one, we had a question about, will the NBA champion of this year have an asterisk to them from winning?
Woo!
That's a good question. I would say, I mean, if everything continues, as in the league comes back, there's not a significant COVID case that happens, and they're able to somehow successfully play it out and not, God willing, not have any issue with COVID, then I might not say that there would be an asterisk. But at the same time, you could look at it that way because I don't think we've ever seen circumstances like this. One thing I will say is when we have champions in a strike season or strike shortened season, we didn't put an asterisk when Miami Heat won the chip back in 2012 when LeBron got his first championship. They had a shortened season, but we didn't say, oh, it was an asterisk for the champion. So obviously, I understand it's completely different circumstances. So we will have to see about that. But me personally, I'm gonna go and say that is not an asterisk, only if there's no more COVID interruptions. But how do you feel about it, bro?
Look, I'm gonna just say it now. There is gonna be an asterisk for LeBron James. It's like, no, I'm just playing. I ain't about to go there. About LeBron James in this podcast, I'm not the biggest LeBron fan. Respect him, but not the biggest fan. With that said, I also need to rewind back as well. I know in the last podcast I said, I wasn't really for the players and the NBA continuing with the pandemic and COVID-19. But obviously my stance has changed because I feel like the players have a job to do and get back out there. But with that said, I don't think there should be an asterisk because, like you said, back in '99, the Spurs, that was a lockout season. It wasn't an asterisk. And in 2012 with Miami, it wasn't an asterisk.
Yeah. Different circumstances, but at the same time, it's like you've never had a season start and like stop like this for months and then all of a sudden come back.
I'm not going to say it's going to be an asterisk, but the sad part is there's going to be, and here's why. If this happens, if star players get sick, then you're going to have people say there's an asterisk because you don't want to have a champion out there who didn't go through getting sick and things like that. Like let's just say, for example, Portland won the championship. LeBron got sick, Giannis got sick,
Wishful thinking.
and
Yes.
people going to be like, wow, that kind of sucked. Like people are going to be like, dang, like we didn't even get to see the best players play in the NBA Finals. Like, just imagine if that happened.
That would be devastating to the league.
So I'm not going to say it's an asterisk because I just love the game of basketball. But to the masses out there, people are going to say it's an asterisk. You can book if that stuff goes down, you can book it. People are going to say that's not a legit champion.
For sure. And we'll have a chance to debate that. And I think that's a great question. We're going to keep it rolling. So the final question that we have from our listeners is about the Jamal Adams trade possibilities.
Ooh,
okay.
My man.
Jamal Adams is a Pro Bowl safety, played for New York Jets. But listen, man, this young brother, man, listen, he's a stud. I would love him on my team, which as the Philadelphia Eagles. But let me just real quick, so it's not a pipe dream, I'm going to read the teams that he's actually interested in being traded to.
I can't read them.
The Ravens, the Chiefs, the Niners, Texans, the Cowboys, Eagles, and the Seattle Seahawks. So all teams that we, looking into the season, will probably be playoff contenders or not Super Bowl contenders. So I respect his list. He put 6 great teams on there.
You went fast on that list. Repeat the boys. Repeat it. The boys. Repeat it.
I can't see my. The Cowboys. Yeah, they're on there too.
Oh, okay. Let me forget to say them again.
Well, but like I was saying, look, man, Jamal Adams is a great player. I'm hopeful that he will be traded to a successful team. I'm a lobby with my Eagles, of course. Fly, Eagles, fly. But at the end of the day, I actually, you know what? The best fit, if we're going to say, like, who is the best fit, if you can imagine Jamal Adams on, like, the Ravens, oh, my goodness.
Earl Thomas.
The Niners, like, oh, my goodness. If he somehow got to the Ravens or the Niners, that's like almost putting a cheat code in the game. Like, we putting a cheat code in Madden. Like, that should not happen. Okay, I mean the Chiefs could obviously use him too. All the teams on the list need him, like for real.
Sorry, what's the assets that's going to be traded from these teams? Like
that's a great question. I mean, so Jamal Adams has technically 2 years on his deal. He had a team option to get extended for his 5th year in his rookie contract, and the team did it. When you trade for him, I think you got to rework his contract. Obviously, you extend him, but he's a top safety in the league, a disruptor. He's there to tackle. He can cover pretty well. The bees, man. Pro Bowler. Look, young. I forget how young he is. He's probably like 24, 25, but something like that. 26.
The Jets are not giving him. It's cool for him to have all those teams listed.
Oh yeah, the Jets, if they do trade him again.
But we all know the team that he should really go to is my Dallas Cowboys. Yes, I said it, America. My Dallas Cowboys. Say it with me, people, when you listen to the podcast. How about them Cowboys? And I'm going to say it one more time. How about them Cowboys? Because you guys need to understand something. You see that man with the star on his helmet? Jamal Adams. He wants to go to Dallas. Don't get it twisted. He has always mentioned Dallas. The brother's from Texas, okay?
That's
Get
real.
that right, okay? The brother wants to be in Dallas. He wants the star on his helmet, and I can't blame him. And you know what? Dallas, figure out a way to get this man, please. Now, to be honest with you, I'm a realist. I'm not like my other Cowboy lovers. I love you guys. Don't get me wrong. But we tend to go crazy at times and go overboard.
Delusional.
Yes, I agree.
Very delusional.
I agree to that. I'm a realist now. They're not going to get him. They're not going to get. I would love for them to get him, but they're not going to. Honestly, I would like to see him in Baltimore, personally.
Damn,
long as he don't go to the Eagles.
Ooh.
Long as he don't go to Fly, Eagles Fly. That sorry team. Send him anywhere else besides
don't disrespect
please.
the chance, bro. All right.
Damn, y'all ain't win last year.
I'm just saying, we got, listen, man, we got the chip recently.
Last year?
You know, bro, you know how old we were when the Cowboys won their last championship? We were toddlers, bro. We were like 3 or 4 years old, okay? That's the last time they won a chip. It's been over 25 years since they won a championship.
I'm with you.
The only relevancy they have is that they're the highest earning team in sports.
Look,
that's the only relevancy they have. And that somehow Jerry Jones has monopolized like having them play on every primetime Sunday football game. I don't understand how he did it. But that's the reality of it.
The name speaks for itself. It's the same reason why the Knicks come.
It's the team people love and the team people love to hate. I'm in that love to hate bracket. I'm at the top of the list,
bro. It's more so the tradition. Like I said, that's why you see the Knicks even though the Knicks suck, but you still see people still talk about them all day, and they are horrible.
Very true.
But look, man, Jamal Adams, brother, we want you. And I want to send a special shout out to my boy, Mark Holmes and Scott Magruder. I'm sorry, Scooter Magruder. Sorry, apologize. I'm messing with your name, Scooter. I apologize.
I can't believe you. Oh, my God.
I'm shouting them out because you guys represent what a true Dallas Cowboy fans are. I respect you and I love you, brothers. So, like I said, say it with me. How about them Cowboys? Say it with me, brother. Come on now.
So I apologize if you guys listen to the podcast. I think Sterling's audio had went out, but it's okay. He's probably saying something about Cowboys. Sometimes things like this happen, but it's all good. He's still my bro. Mad love, mad respect. But sometimes, when he says things, egregious, sometimes the audio just cuts out. So I'm sorry. I don't know what he said. But hey, anyway, thank you guys so much, man, for tuning in, sticking with us. I like the engagement from y'all. We're going to try to get as many of your questions in as we go throughout this podcast. You guys take this journey with us, and we got 3 in today. There's so many great questions that were asked. We will get into them. Some of them may be actually major topics in the upcoming episodes, but we appreciate y'all for tuning in, giving us our suggestions. We do ask one more time to please subscribe, rate us, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and some other podcast mediums at The Savory Show. Again, Savory is Savery. One last time, Savery. Also follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Savory Show. Peace and love, everyone. It's been real. We will catch y'all later.
Love y'all.